Good morning. Welcome to our meditation session today. And today we're going to look at this meditation where we view our thoughts in our mind. We simply observe them. We identify whether they're positive, negative, or neutral, and then we let them go. And that's the key, this letting go. And the reason this meditation or this practice is so powerful is because you're detaching and observing your thoughts. So you could say, well, who is observing my thoughts? You really loosen that attachment and tie to your thoughts, defining who you are. Because if you can observe your thoughts, that means you can choose which thoughts serve you, which thoughts you give attention to, which thoughts you hold in your mind, and which you just let pass on through. So this is a very powerful technique. And when you loosen your attachment to those thoughts, because many of them are the same thoughts that were there yesterday and the day before, and maybe for years, and many of them come from your unconscious mind, from your own set of beliefs and values, your paradigm or your perception of the world, your way of relating to the world. And so if you start to loosen the hold of that can become, especially as we age, very rigid sort of box of the thoughts in your mind, you actually open up to original new thoughts. You open up to new ideas. You become more open to questioning those thoughts, to allowing other people's new ideas or different ways of seeing the world to come into your awareness. And this is the way we stay young in our mind. We keep our mind adaptive and flexible, and we flow with life, because life will present you with lots of different ideas, and you'll come across people with different ideas. And sometimes as we age, we can become very narrow and crystallized. It's almost, it's like water that's not flowing anymore, and it's become crystallized, and we shut down and we become very defensive of any new ideas or anything that challenges our paradigm or our way of seeing the world. And really, this is the opposite. This is the opposite to what we want. As we age, we want to be open and expansive, developing, taking in more knowledge, running it through our process of our mind, developing more wisdom, and evolving and growing as a result. So it's a powerful process. And what it does is it means that if in meditation, you can simply label a thought, positive, negative, neutral, let it go. You get much better at letting things go in your life. So things that might have really sparked a reaction, you just let them go. You become less reactive, more considerate. You consider your response to things. And we know from the physiology that's less in the animal limbic system amygdala part of the brain, the survival reactive part, brings it into the conscious, self-conscious frontal cortex of the brain, where we have the capacity to think through something, to rationalize something, to come to a conclusion, to apply it, to really work with something. And that means that our response to the world becomes quite different. Quite often it means we don't respond. We get good at letting things go, at choosing our battles, at choosing whether to confront something, at choosing whether we want to lose our peace to a situation, or whether actually our inner peace and contentment and happy mind is more important to us than someone else with different ideas to us. And so, or something that happened that wasn't on our plan for the day. And it's like, okay, it's happened. I'll give you an example from my life yesterday. I was supposed to meet a friend at a certain time, and she had a time constraint. And it just seemed like everything was happening to stop me getting there. You know, the traffic coming back from the supermarket, and then when I got home, my daughter needed my attention. And then when I went to get my bike, it had the tire was down and it had no lights. And do you know what I mean? It was just these ongoing little things. In the end, I just rang her up and said, I'm running late. She said, that's fine, I'm running late. So I just cycled off, still feeling really unaffected, and was able to meet up with her in the spirit of friendship, and we had a lovely time. And any one of those events getting up to there, and maybe all of those events, could have escalated my state. So by the time I met up with her, I wouldn't be in a good place to be a good friend or have a nice time. Whereas I was just sort of, oh, do you know what I mean? Just shrugging my shoulders and thinking, okay, deal with this. Okay, deal with that. And that's the power of this practice. You almost get so you laugh because you're just like, okay, for some reason, I'm supposed to be 1/4 of an hour late to this. And that's how it is. And it wasn't a problem. And the other thing that this practice does is your peace, your inner peace, that sort of equanimity in your mind, that equilibrium and that balance and that harmony becomes so important that it's going to take something really, really big for you to give that up, even if just for a while. And sometimes you might do that consciously. You might think, actually, I need to address this issue. I need to have maybe a difficult conversation, address a boundary, address respect issues, you know, something that's really core to my values. But you're not reacting, you're thinking about how you're going to address that. You know that you might be in a conflict situation that's going to disturb your peace for a little while, but you also know that ultimately it will bring greater inner peace to both you and the other person or people or the situation. It will resolve something. So your inner peace, your peace becomes precious, it becomes sacred, and something that you're less likely to sacrifice. Because really, when we're very reactive, we're like saying, well, my peace doesn't matter. I'm prepared to let it go in response to everything in the world. And it's like, hang on, your peace does matter. And the more you hold your peace, the more people around you will hold their peace. It's contagious. Like anger or angst or negativity is contagious, so is peace. Someone who holds their peace has a peaceful presence. Everyone around them, their shoulders drop, they breathe deeper, and they just feel more peaceful just being in the presence of that person. So you're helping other people just by holding your own space and that being precious to you. The other thing that it does, which is good fun and amazing, when you go into this meditation and you're just simply letting go, letting go, letting go, it enables you to drop into a peace that you realize you connect your inner peace to something far greater. It's almost like you go inward to expand outward. And you start to realize that actually peace is everywhere all the time. Nature's at peace. The world's at peace. The cosmos is at peace. Mars and Jupiter and the moon are all at peace. So you connect to something so great that it enhances your capacity to be peaceful. And you also realize that you're part of that peace. And you will start to connect to how peace and love work together. That's a whole nother topic, but I'm just going to put that in there for something for you to consider. If we live in a vibration of love and we live in a vibration of peace, you can consider how they relate to each other. The other thing that it does is by having the courage to go into your mind, because most people don't want to look in their mind. They think, oh no, I don't want to go there. It's not a nice place to be. Or there's a lot of self-recrimination. There's a lot of self-sabotage, and there's a lot of thoughts in there that are not good. So they tend to distract themselves in life all day, every day, to avoid observing their own mind. And really, we have a society that is A1 on distraction. You know, we people are glued to distraction almost 24/7. You know, they might actually turn it off just to sleep. But what you do is you have the courage to look at your mind and say, okay, my mind has positive thoughts, it has negative thoughts, and it has thoughts that I'm not sure. So they're neutral. They don't really have an emotional charge to them. And this, rather than encouraging self-judgment and self-criticism, it actually lets it go. It's the opposite. You would think that by going into your mind, you're going to become more self-critical. You become less self-critical because you develop a capacity called discrimination that takes away, that sort of, it dissolves self-criticism and self-judgment, because you're prepared to go into your mind and say, yeah, that thought serves me. I like that one. Positive. No, not so keen on that one. Okay, let it go anyway. That one's neutral. Let it go anyway. And you'll find that it loosens the hold of self-criticism. And the beauty is, when you loosen your own self-judgment and self-criticism, you become less critical and judgmental of other people. Okay, so if you can let negative thoughts go in your mind, it's like you can let negative words go that other people have spoken. You can let negative events go. You cannot be so attached to those energies and those ideas, or attached to your ideas of how it should be, and you become mindful, aware, present to how it is. And work with what's in front of you. So this enables self-awareness to become a process that you don't fear, because many people's, you know, self-awareness, sort of being honest with yourself and going in there and seeing what's in there, and, you know, it's murky in there. It's quite a frightening thing. It's what puts a lot of people off meditation, to be honest. So I don't want to go in there. I spend my life trying to avoid what's going on in here. Okay, let's do the opposite. Like we do in yoga, when we're doing a stretch, and I say to you, instead of avoiding that strong stretch feeling in your body, instead of doing everything you can to avoid that feeling, go into it, embrace it, breathe into it. And what you find is the strong stretch feeling releases. And it's the same in your mind with the self-criticism and the self-judgment. It releases. And you become what I would call a happy, self-aware person who actually starts to want to know, want to know thyself, want to explore, want to grow, want to evolve, because you're not frightened to look inside and to be honest. And all of a sudden, that whole process is not scary anymore. And it means that in your life, you become much better at stepping back and observing, of discriminating, of accepting something, discarding something, or engaging with it to enact positive change. And you start operating from your higher self more of the time, because it's your higher self that is the observer, or your true self that is the observer in your mind. Because you know that if you can observe your thoughts, you're not your thoughts. And most of those thoughts have come from other people or other sources, or were installed before you were 7. And many of them don't serve you, but many of them do. There's some real gems in there. You know, when we were talking earlier this morning, Jane came up with something that her mother said that was a pearl of wisdom. you know, you've got thoughts in there that are people along your journey are real good ones that serve you well. And there becomes more space for them. So what happens is you start to develop a sense, or you start to experience more a peace of mind more of the time, or most of the time. So it's almost like your mind becomes, rather than a turbulent sea, in which it's quite difficult, if you're in a sailing boat or on a surfboard or something, it's quite difficult to navigate those waters for all that turbulence. You're being tossed here and there. Whereas when you calm that sea of your mind and there's more peace, you can navigate a much truer, straighter course. It becomes easier to navigate, and it gives you space in your mind to think. Now you think, well, aren't I thinking all the time? Most people don't use their mind to think. Most people are thought. So their thoughts are what their thoughts control their mind. Their thoughts are in charge. They are thought. They're controlled by the thoughts. You switch that and you become the thinker who determines the thoughts, who takes a thought or a new idea. And this is really, I guess, what top scientists or inventors or people, very creative people who have enough space in their mind to bring through sometimes, or something arises in their intuition. Einstein talked about this a lot. Something would arise in his intuition, in that space in his mind, and then he would use his rational, logical thinking mind to explore it, to take it down a pathway, to consider this, to consider that, to really work with an idea. And when you do this, you're using your mind as a tool. You're not being thought by your thoughts, you are thinking. Do you see the difference? Most people in their everyday lives do very little thinking, very little original thought, where they're using their mind like the tool, the amazing tool that it is to think. And what happens when you start to use your mind this way, you become infinitely more efficient in life. And this is where people say, well, how do you get all that done? How did you do that in that short space of time? It's like, because I was using my mind. I was using this amazing mind to think. I created space. And it might be that you're a person who needs to have space in your environment to use your mind to think. I find that if I've got too much going on, I go for a walk in nature. I get outside, I go somewhere that is expansive and spacious, switch off my thinking or just let it go, connect mindfully to where I am. And that's when the space in my mind and the intuitive ideas or solutions or things like that pop up. And you're like, whoa, that's good. And quite often for me, let me write that down. You know, I've got to capture that one, because I want to hold that one in my mind and think it through. So what I'm saying is I want to use the tool of my mind, that beautiful idea that's come from the universal mind, and it can only come into a mind that is open and clear. I then want to use my mind to develop that thought, to take it as far as I can take it. And this is a fun process. This is where, I mean, you really start, it feels like you're getting rid of the cobwebs in your mind. You start thinking in a way that you might not have thought. You think back to the last time you had a really deep philosophical conversation with someone about the meaning of life, or the sort of conversations I know I stayed up all night having at university at a time when you were working out how things work. And the energy that pours through you and the thought processes. And if you're doing this with somebody else, the brainstorming, the ideas, the creative, innovative process that happens is astounding. And you can go from zero to a fantastic something in no space at all, no time at all. And once we can learn to step back from these thoughts, positive, let it go, negative, let it go, neutral, let it go. You're really taking back the power of your mind. And this is really a gift that I think our world has become, so full of distractions and other people's thoughts and ideas that we don't have any space in here. Really, we have epidemic proportions of anxiety and panic and overload and overwhelm, and people just seeking some peace from these constant barrage of thoughts, of sensory inputs that create thoughts and responses to those sensory inputs. And really, I think, if everybody in the world could just connect to this immense peace through having the courage to go in and say, yeah, I'm going to look at my thoughts. I'm not going to the only judgment or the only label I'm going to give them is positive, negative, or neutral. But I'm going to let them go anyway, because they're all equal. Just let them go. And it's that process of letting them go means that, in your life, you'll find it a lot easier, for example, to let emotional energy go, to let crystallized, sort of outdated thoughts and ideas go, to let attachment to material things go, to let attachment to the way things should be go. And this gives you something that is priceless, and that is freedom. Gives you freedom in your mind and freedom in your life. And, if love and peace are wonderful things to experience more of, freedom is really the triangle. To me, that's the, it doesn't get any better than that. If my inner self, if my life, if my core me that I experience most of the time is love, peace, and freedom, how does it get any better than that? And that is who you are at truth. You're just connecting. When you experience that, you're just connecting to your true self, to your authentic self. So I know that it's been a long story to explain, and there's more. You'll discover more in practicing this meditation technique. You'll discover more than, I can explain. The key is to practice it. And I would always recommend that you practice this particular meditation technique for a period of time to really get the result. So if you might decide, right, I'm going to do this for the next 6 weeks, for example, when I meditate each day, I'm going to do this practice for 10, 15, 20 minutes every day, just to loosen the hold of those attachments in my mind. Right, enough talking from me. Let's meditate. So get yourself comfortable, sitting upright so that the energy is aligned vertically with your higher self, but your feet are grounded. So you want to uncross your legs, ideally feet in contact with the floor, or if you're high up in a building, think of sending energy down into the earth under the building so that you feel like you're here. Close your eyes. And we're just going to come into this present moment. So just become aware of your body sitting on the chair. Be aware of the clothes on your skin. Now take your awareness to your hearing and just let sounds come in. Just connecting to this moment as it is. And now we're going to take that same awareness to our breath. So just notice your breath as it comes into your body. Notice your breath as it leaves. And at first, this will be quite physical. You'll notice it in your nose, your mouth, the flow of air. But as you gently focus on the breath, you will find that you can watch your breath from inside of you. And this will take your focus inward. So with each breath cycle, feel like the breath is going a little deeper, opening a channel, especially around the heart chakra, so between your sternum and your spine. Just gently creating space. Feel like that spacious feeling starts in the center of your chest and is just radiating out. As you take the breath deeper into your belly. Now, ideally, as you breathe in, your tummy fills with air. As you breathe out, you pull your tummy back towards your spine, releasing the air, but in a rhythm that's very natural and very comfortable for you. And notice how by just focusing on the breath, you have already quietened your mind somewhat. And by breathing down into your diaphragm, you stimulate your vagus nerve and allow your body to begin to relax. Now just keep a gentle focus on the breath. Returning whenever your mind is distracted by thoughts, by feelings, by physical sensations. And I want you to return to the breath with an attitude of loving kindness. So you loosen the hold of criticism and judgment. It doesn't matter that your mind wandered. What matters is it comes back home. Now, by focusing on the breath, this will take you into connection with the observer, with your higher true self. And then you can simply start to observe your thoughts. Now, you may find your mind goes very quiet. If that's the case, just enjoy the peace. Thoughts will arise. And as they do, you simply give them a label of positive, negative, or neutral. But regardless, you let them go. If you lose your connection to the observer of your thoughts, simply focus on the breath until you come into that place of peace. And now gently let go the observing of the thoughts in your mind. And just come back into an awareness of your physical body, moving and stretching as you need to, but keeping your eyes closed for a moment. And then in a moment, we're going to open our eyes, but I want you to open your eyes with full awareness. So letting all of the sensory information come in, so you fully connect with your environment as you come back into the room. So when you're ready, just opening your eyes. When we come out of meditation in this way, we are seeing the world through the eyes of our soul. We're connecting with the world mindfully, we're present. And those few moments before thoughts come back into your mind, speaking about, analyzing what you see, there is immense peace and acceptance of all that's before you. Now, I just want to mention a couple of things about this meditation and this process of loosening the hold of those thoughts in your mind. The first thing is that it means, without having to do anything else in your everyday life, you will find that you're more peaceful. Your mind is more peaceful more of the time. The second thing that happens is that you begin to realize that you can only make changes in your mind, in your emotional habits, in your life, when you are observing. So think of your life as a drama that's going on the stage, and all the people in your life and all the events are part of the play. They're part of the drama. Now, when you're immersed in that drama, it's very, very difficult to change anything. It's extremely difficult. But if you step into the audience, if you're sitting in the audience watching that drama, you will suddenly understand things on a different level. You'll see things you couldn't see when you were in the drama. You'll see what needs to change and how to change it. So it's very empowering. When we step into the observer, we're really taking the reins of change in our hand, and it's much easier to change things from the position of the observer. And in this way, we develop our self-awareness, our capacity for self-reflection, contemplation, awareness. The other two things that this practice opens up, and this is something that will develop as our minds develop in the future, and more people's minds develop in the future. One is the capacity to envisage or visualize that which you seek in your life. So this idea that thoughts become things, that energy follows thought. When you have that foundation of peace and space in your mind, you have the capacity to start to visualize the changes you want. See yourself as if you're projecting into the future, doing, being, feeling as you want to. So we will tap into the creative power of our mind and our thoughts, but we don't create with our everyday thoughts. We create when we're in this place of peace, this spacious mind. And the other thing that this opens up is, you imagine the power when a group of people come together who are all in this creative, peaceful place in their mind, and they come together in group meditation. we start to get a force that's incredibly powerful for change that affects all of humanity, because all of those people working in that way are connecting to universal mind, to infinite possibilities and energies far beyond just their individual human selves. And this is really where, once we grasp the power of our mind, where this has the potential to go, and we will literally have thinkers in the world who are envisaging a new world and a new way of being, and bringing it into being through the power of the peace in their minds and the power of the creative capacity of their minds. Because when people come together, it's not just added or even multiplied, it's logarithmic in terms of its effects. And we know this from group meditations and the what's called the Maharishi effect of when people come together with a combined intent and meditate, we see actual changes in the world. We see the manifest changes. It might be a reduction in violence in a particular area that a group was focusing on, envisaging peace in that area. That sort of thing is well documented. So that's the capacity of where this could take us. So that was a practice of 15 minutes of just watching your thoughts, labeling them and letting them go. Just that 15 minutes has amazing capacity to change your mind and therefore change your life. So thank you. Namaste.